Is it time to quit your job? So, this video is a reaction video to Is It Time to Quit Your Job, Friend by EJ Speaks. I love EJ Speaks. She's hilarious. Okay. So, I love all of her videos. I particularly love the videos where she talks about the signs that it's time to leave your toxic job. So, I'm going to go over the ones that resonated most with me from that video. So, again, that video is it time to quit your job, friend? Okay. And I'll put the link to that video in the description section. So, one is you talk negatively about your job. So, do you always, if somebody asks you about your job, the first thing you talk about is how much you cannot stand it? Okay. And then you just talk about that profusely. Okay. So, it's just all negative about your job. So, that's the first sign. And I think a lot of us can relate to that. So, when we get to a place in our toxic job that we cannot identify hardly any positive about it, that's generally a sign it's time to go. So when you think about your toxic job, I want you to just take a moment and think about your job and think about if someone were to ask you, how's your job? Would it be all negative or mostly negative? And just think about in conversations you've had recently with people when they ask you about your job, is most of what you say negative? Okay. Now, you may have even been an experience where initially you really liked your job initially, but then down the road or currently it's not what it used to be. It may be toxic now, but it wasn't toxic before. Okay. So that's number one. Number two is thinking about how does the job affect you? So when you are driving to work, when you are leaving work, when you are at home, how does thinking about your job affect you? So in the video, EJ Speaks talks about, trying to get yourself ready to even get to the job. So on your way to the job, what are you saying to yourself? When you get to the parking lot, what are you saying to yourself? I remember for me, when I was at that toxic job, I would have to give myself a pep talk. I would have to listen to positive music on my way to the job. Before I got out of my car, I would pray and I would tell myself it's not that bad. So trying to just pump yourself up. So think about for yourself, how does the job affecting your mood? Okay. And what are you going through as you're trying to get to that job? Now, number three is you have tried everything that you know how to do to make the job better. So maybe you have talked to your supervisor or supervisors. You have tried to do something different in terms of how you've interacted with your coworkers. Maybe you've tried to approach your job task differently. You've tried to do all those different things and nothing is working. Nothing's working. Okay. So if that is the case for you, then again, that might be a sign that that job is time to go. It's time to quit. Okay. Um, and then the last thing she talked about, the one that I resonated with too, is every time you think about the job, it impacts your mood. Like it just drains your mood. You just feel like, ugh, I just do not want to go back to that job. If that's happening to you, then that's another sign it's time that maybe you should be quitting that job. Okay. So in the video, she talked about the dread of even getting out of bed. I know that was the case for me. I dreaded getting up each Monday through Friday because I knew I had to go to that toxic job. It was like really trying to will myself out the bed. Okay. So if that is your experience, again, another sign. So I want you to just take a moment as I've gone over, and again, humor is a form of healing. So I like to look at funny videos. EJ Speaks is hilarious. So I like to look at her videos. And my hope is that you will look at that video and in addition to laughing in terms of her presentation of the information, but that you take a moment and really reflect on, hmm, do I relate to any of these signs that maybe it's time for me to go? And I know for me, I created my own signs. At first, I was going to come up with 10 signs, but it was way more than 10. So I was trying to do it as a way to make myself laugh, be light about the situation, but there was nothing light about the situation. It wasn't anything light, okay? So for me, it was, you know, feeling like I was in a bad movie. So I kind of said, it feels like I'm in a movie that's a mix between Get Out, Mean Girls, and The Emperor Has No Clothes. So I want you to think about, the job that you're at now. What movie would you say that you feel like you are living? And I would even add Groundhog's Day because it felt like every day was the same story. Every day the alarm would go off. Every day I would dread going to that job. Every day I would try to pep talk myself to say it was okay, even though it really wasn't okay. Okay. So as you're listening to this video, I want you to think about what are the top signs that it may be time for you to go to, that it might be time to quit? And when we think about quitting a job, I know it's scary. I talk about this a lot on my videos. Um, it may be scary, but it may be something that you need to do. You may need to do this in terms of your own mental health, your physical health. You may need to do this because you're not growing. You may need to do this because the environment is harming you in many ways. You may need to go because you're starting to self gaslight yourself. So, gaslighting, we all know what gaslighting is, but self-gaslighting is when you start internalizing the gaslighting yourself. So it gets in your head and you start questioning yourself. So all these things may be signs for you. If any of these signs are apparent in your life or you have other signs, I encourage you to think about what your next steps are. I encourage you to start thinking about exit planning. I say all the time to Black women that if you're in a toxic job, the expectation is not that you leave your job immediately, unless you are in immediate harm. That's not the expectation. However, if you are in a toxic job, I want you to know that you can leave. You do have options. The hope is that you start exit planning. One of the options for exit planning is as Emery Archer and I, the anti-HR lady, also she's an HR consultant and an attorney. We are collaborating on a masterclass. So the masterclass is called Save Yourself, Channel Your Inner Harriet to save yourself from a toxic hostile job so that you can leave with your sanity and your coins. So I will put information, the early registration information in the description section. So again, if you have seen EJ Speaks video that I just talked about, is it time to quit your job, friend? If you have seen that video, which again I'll put in the description section, if you resonate with any of those signs that she said, if you have your own signs, it's time to quit. Let's think about what are your next steps in terms of exit planning. Okay. So as I mentioned before, I do have a resource available for you. So again, it's the masterclass, which is S. Emery Archer and I collaborating. And the masterclass is called Save Yourself, Channel Your Inner Harriet, so that you can leave that toxic hostile job with your sanity and your coins. Okay. So, again, that information will be in the description section. And if you have not already subscribed to my channel, my YouTube channel, please do so. Lifting as a Climb Consulting Wellness Services. And please also share this video with other Black women so we can help other Black women leave toxic situations as well. Okay, so thank you for tuning in, and I will talk to you later. Bye.